All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, time for another crazy day. New all-time highs for all that celebrate, almost even on Ethereum, which is nuts. I didn't know I would see the day that we were getting back to all-time highs on Ethereum after it didn't participate in the last cycle. I, for one, with a lot of people, have been kind of waited with bated breath for altcoin season and been promised it forever. Looks like it might be happening now. So we're going to go through, stock markets. We are going to go through kind of equity markets. We're going to go through whatever it is that we can find. Crypto, I'm going to take a quick look at. If you have anything that you would like me to look at, that's kind of the point here. So make sure you're commenting in chat. I have chat open right away. I'll let that fill up for a bit and let you guys kind of request what it is you want to look at while I show you guys what it is that I think that we could see. So first I need to do a little screen share and find what it is that I'm looking to share with you guys. So we'll do that right there. Perfect. Awesome. So just starting with the S&P 500, as always, it looks amazing, right? What else do you want? You had a very clean sideways consolidation after a new all-time high was made. You went into a range, you hung out in a range for a long period of time, and then you broke out, and now you're on kind of day 3 of the breakout. This is how you want markets to move. If you want markets to remain healthy, you want a little bit of consolidation, and then a breakout, and then a little bit of consolidation, and then a breakout, and then just repeating that process over and over and over again. Because if you just get a big surge higher, then that kind of creates a lot of vacuumous action when it comes to liquidity. Things that shoot straight up without resting often will come right back down. Things that move up and then consolidate sideways for a while, work out in any kind of overbought condition they have, and then break out to new highs. Those are usually the healthiest ones. So breakout, rest, over and over and over again. So a nice look there on the SPY and what it is that we're looking to see. Same thing on the Qs, right? Qs relatively strong. Even IWM, although not going today, is trying. Right? It's broken this huge level it's had here, this kind of 216. We can even extend this further back. And if we extend this, it was support, and then resistance a couple times here. So we've had this problem for a long time, and we broke through, and we're holding that. The reason I say even IWM is because if you just look at it, right, everything else is at new all-time highs. The small caps are not. Part of that, I think, is built in. And as a small cap, you kick out your best player. So the IWM, if a company gets good at all, it's going to kick out its best player. It's going to just remove. SMCI is a perfect example, which just jumped right out of small cap, right to large cap. Didn't even stop by mid cap on the way through. So if you're constantly kicking out your best players over and over and over again, it's eventually you're going to underperform. But if we can get going here, that's kind of interesting. Also, IWM small caps are interest rate sensitive vehicles. So you've got biotechs, you've got small banks, you've got things that care about interest rates. Those are moving as well. And partly because of this, right? So TNX, this is our 10-year yield. This is our interest rate. Don't worry. I won't spend too much time talking about interest rates. I know they're boring, but they're very, very important. And the reason they're very important is because looking at interest rates just tells us what it is happening in that overall market. And what's interest rates are everything. They're boring. They don't move very much. You can't make a lot of money trading them, but their importance is huge because if interest rates spike or they're too high, no one lends money. And if you're not lending money out, you're not building the new quantum computer, AI, drone, whatever. So interest rates coming down allows speculative assets to really kind of take the forefront and really start to shine because it's more likely that that drug company is going to be able to have enough runway in its existence to make that drug, or that drone company or that quantum computer company is going to be able to raise enough money to keep the lights on and keep the business alive until they discover quantum computing, that type of thing. So hugely important there. The fact that we're gapping down, the fact that we're moving lower, it's what we want to see. It is very important when it comes to those things. I think crypto is interesting to watch because Bitcoin really hasn't done anything over the last, Monday. So 7 days of about nothing. However, Ethereum is absolutely ripping and ripping up into a prior resistance zone. So in the textbook, what will happen here is we will consolidate sideways for a period of time and then break out and potentially challenge this this all-time high around 5,000. This is a really strong move to get there, and that makes me think that it might just kind of crash right through. And with that, Solana is ripping as well. So a lot of your meme coins are going to be doing fantastic. Right? Your fart dog guys, all of those are going to be doing awesome. Solana still has a long way to go to hit all-time highs here, in which if we get to these all-time highs, we could potentially break through. New highs from here could be, I don't know, 500 or so. So pay attention there as well. I want to highlight this as well. I think this Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is a really important one. So instead of just putting Ethereum over USD, which is what a lot of people look at, you do Ethereum over Bitcoin. And the reason for that is that Bitcoin is becoming more and more a safe haven asset, right? Digital gold, as the crypto bros will tell you. The importance there is that if Bitcoin is the safe crypto version of it, and Ethereum is kind of the more aggressive crypto version of it, it means that even within the crypto space, there is this rotation and this push out into risk assets. So you can do the same thing with, say, Solana Bitcoin, which isn't as pronounced, but it is still there. So Solana Bitcoin bounced off this level pretty handily and is just ripping here today, showing even in the speculative space of crypto, people are getting more and more speculative and they're going further down that risk scale. So whatever is happening in the world, people are taking on risk. They're doing it in the stock market, and now they're doing it even more so in the crypto market. If you look at a lot of these things, right? I'll bring up what I think is the king of speculative assets. There cannot be more speculative asset in the world than something called Fartcoin. Just it can't be. And the fact that it's been just going sideways here since April all the way until now, and now looks like it's breaking out to this handle with a target of 420. Funny enough, the fact that this is pushing higher and is up pretty big today, up 10% plus today. I've seen it up as high as 15%, is just showing those animal spirits are on. And when we're in these modes, for me, it's very important to be pushing in these modes. I want to be invested. I want to buy things. I want to buy speculative things because these things go and they can go for years. They can go for a long period of time until they crack. So you need to make sure that you have a plan to get out when they do crack, because at some point they most certainly will. But in the meantime, you want to be pushing as long as you are able to push. You want us to buy Fartcoin? No, I've never said that. I don't want you to buy anything. I don't care what you buy. This is just my thoughts on the overall market, which is if this thing is ripping, we are in full on animal spirits, reckless, let's go crazy mode. Other than that, the only thing that could kind of stop us, I think, is if this dollar index really rips, the DXY. If the dollar gets very strong, it's going to be a headwind to some of this. But without further ado, let's kind of pop into it. So, yeah, Galaxy and NBIS, someone was talking about. These are amazing. These are purely, I know Galaxy Digital is like a crypto hedge fund, as for lack of a better term. A great thing to potentially trade and potentially have a shot in when it comes to these. Any of these crypto treasury ones, if you're looking at, these crypto treasury names are just going to move with Bitcoin. So if you're in them, you have to believe that crypto is going to continue to expand, that these risk on assets are going to continue to rip, And if we don't get that, they're going to fall apart. I have no idea what happens to the whole crypto treasury movement when and if we get the next crypto winter, the next crypto bear market. I, kind of scared of what happens overall, just because it's kind of every day there's a new. We're a crypto treasury stock now, not a whatever it is kind of stock. But until then, you have to ride it. Just make sure you have a game plan in order to get out of these things when and if they stop working, because at some point they're going to stop working, and you need to make sure you have that plan as long as you can stay with them, right? Sometime with Grab, this is a real company. It's doing real things. This is, as far as I can remember, is like the Uber of like Vietnam or something like that, or the Uber Eats of Vietnam, or something to that respect. But they're doing stuff, which is great. There's a lot of companies out there not doing stuff. So this is a great looking chart, right? And again, not a huge technical guy, but one way you could, or a pattern guy, but one way you could draw this out is with just kind of an inverse head and shoulders here. You could just say, right, there's your shoulder, there's your head, there's your shoulder, there's a big area of resistance right up in here. If we can get above that, away we go. Let's check the short float on Grab. I was actually just looking at the short door, and that short float and that open holdings just nuts. Grab. 7% short float. It's not a little, right? It's not nothing. It's not a lot. It's not nothing here. And it's about as high as it's been. So people are betting short against this zone. That breakout could cause them to potentially pop higher. But it's a nice look. And I like that it is not US centric, because we have, for the first time in a really long time, we have the rest of the world starting to expand out here, in which it's not just the US that's pushing. It's not just the US that's making money. It's, you're getting other places, you're getting other stocks, you're getting other stock markets, and they're going as well. So I think this particular one, I think it looks great. It's obviously had some problems I would take a look at, because it fell from $15 to $250. So, just beware there. But overall, everything's looking great for that particular name. So I like the fact that it's been put in this base forever. There's old technical saying, the bigger the base, the higher in space. And this one's been in a base from 22 on to 25, so near 3 years, hanging out inside of this base. And just now, it's going to take a little bit of pop through it. It breaks through, it comes back, it retests the base, and it holds it, and it holds it well. And now it's coming up, and it's making this kind of inverse head and shoulder. So I think this chart looks great. Last test I would do, and something that fell apart like this, is grab an anchored VWAP from this high. And look at that. Look how well that kind of predicted what would happen here. Resistance a bunch of times. It finally broke through, and then it came back to test that anchored VWAP and then pushed higher. Great. Right? It's a great look. So I really like the look of this grab. This is a nice one. A 7% short float, again, is not nothing, but it is something to keep an eye on, that people are betting against this breakout happening. We are in the market environment where breakouts are happening, where big bases are resolving much higher. So it makes sense that potentially this one could resolve much higher as well. SoFi. So SoFi is getting very close to a huge resistance zone. So we IPO'd right here, and then we ripped up to 25, and we tested those 25 like three times. 25, 25, 25. Tested, failed, tested, failed, tested, failed. If we are finally going to end up breaking through, we are probably going to do so pretty quickly. I bet you people are shorting into this one. So we can go over here, and then we can just go to SoFi. And yeah, 15% short float. And the reason I really like this, so this is just FinViz. If you want to check it out, this is the free version. That's why you see ads everywhere. But that's fine. They got to make their money somehow. The reason I like this is because it charts the short float. So it's not just what is the absolute number, but what has happened. So the short float updates every 2 weeks, right? That's the official number there. But ever since we've kind of been in this zone, people have been adding more and more shorts. And it doesn't look like, at least the last reporting date was right here, right before the all-time high breakout. They didn't cover their shorts, and we've kind of grinded pretty significantly on a percentage basis higher ever since we've done that. So that's great. You want to see, I talk about this all the time. Short float doesn't matter if the shorts are right. If you're short a bunch of names and the thing kind of pulls back and tanks to new lows, I always like to use the meme stocks, for example. They're heavily shorted, but they're downtrending. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? They're winning. They have no need to ever cover their shorts at all, right? They'll probably end up covering them somewhere on the way down, but they don't need to. When you are short 15% of your company and it smacks through all-time highs, then that's great because you know they're wrong, right? The only way you 100% know that the shorts are hurt is if they are at all-time highs. We're not quite there yet, but they're pretty short right now. So, and they've been shorting this entire time. So the fact that the short float line has been going higher while the stock has been moving sideways just tells us that people they were shorting into this move and they're wrong, and we're starting to break out. So that's what I want to see. That's a nice looking chart. However, the caveat being you've moved from 8 to you've 200% or triple since your low there in April, and you're going to hit all-time highs. It feels like we're going to get there soon. Doesn't feel like it's going to be clean. I wouldn't be surprised if we got there and just kind of chopped around for a while. But you can't hate on a stock making new all-time highs. They're doing something right. LUMN. Thanks for reviewing Grab. No worries. No worries. Lumen Technologies. So let's go back here, see if this is okay. So this is a weird chart. It's 1973. It went from 42 cents up to 50 bucks and then all the way back to 42 cents. So it's a long term. This is an interesting one. However, something happened here, some sort of change in sentiment, change in ideas. People got excited about this name in this area right here where they weren't interested in this name before. Great. It's holding that pop-up, which is good because if it spent too much time under here, they would have had to do some sort of reverse short float shenanigans to stay listed. It looks like they were able to save themselves. LUMN. I always like to take a peek. Not very heavily shorted, and they've covered quite a bit, or the company's done some sort of kind of reverse split action. Lumen Technologies. So it saved itself here. Maybe it did some sort of, I don't know, corporate action or whatever, but it saved itself in through here. And now it's just sideways. So I look at this and I say, okay, it's got a high of 10 and a low here of 2 or 3. That's a really wide range to potentially play. And I don't really see anything super exciting, anything of note between these two zones. It would have to either get well above or well below in order for me to be interested in it. Right now, we're just kind of chopping around sideways. A little bit of resistance here at 477. If they can get through that, great. That could be what it needs to get to these prior highs. But yeah, it's a very, very strange chart. This is one that's very hard from a chartist point of view to get a read on. I think you really need to kind of understand the fundamental side of this. ONDS. See, I'm starting to like a lot of these because we got a lot of IPOs in 2020, 2021. A lot of IPOs, a lot of de-SPACs in these names, like a ton, like a whole bunch of them. The ones that have survived and haven't had to reverse splits over and over and over and over again. And they haven't had to go through that kind of shenanigans of someone. I was going to bring up Mullen, but that's an obvious example. You will. I'm sure we'll see some examples as we go through them. The ones that IPO'd, basically IPOing in 2021. If you look back, of course they didn't know this at the time, but that's got to be the worst possible time to IPO a stock. You IPO'd a new, fresh company right before a bear market, right before crazy interest rates, all kinds of stuff happened. If the companies got crushed, which a lot of them did, right? Was it 23andMe and Bird, the scooter company? There's a whole bunch of them that went under. If your company didn't go under in that time and held up and actually did very well in that time, then these bases that they're making and the breakouts that they're doing, to me, are very, very interesting. A handful of names, like some that I like. I have this outlet company, because I bring this up every now and then just because I think it does a good service here. And again, I'll always tell you I own a chunk of this, and the reason is because we had 2 babies in this time. And we bought this thing for them, which is like a heart rate sock monitor. But the point is this is one of those that IPO'd at the worst possible time, completely fell apart, but has been holding this base for a long period of time. Hasn't been downtrending for years and years and years. I bought it when it started to look like it was going to threaten this breakout again. And the reason for it is because these names that have survived 2 bear markets in the last couple years and are starting to break out and to push higher, they get very interesting to me because they've kind of weathered the storm, right? I was talking to a guy who was very anti-Bitcoin, and he didn't want to hear. He's like, I heard the whole thing about the blockchain and the finite supply and the unhackability. And he's like, well, give me another reason to own Bitcoin. And the kind of counter that I gave him was, well, it hasn't died, right? It's had 80% pullbacks throughout its life. It's did a 50% pullback recently. It doesn't seem to matter. It crashes again and again and again. And every time so far, it comes back. And I think that's actually a big thing. And that's what I look at when I look at these long bases in stocks, is that, what's the bull case for this company is that it was on the ropes, obviously, for a very long time. And you can see, right, all the times here that it missed earnings. And then a little surprise here to the upside, but still losing money. It missed earnings. It's turned itself profitable, right? It's starting to make little bits of money here and there. But more importantly, from a price action point of view, it just stopped going down. And step one to go up, so you got to stop going down. And when they weather the storm, the company restructures, the company tries to figure itself out. That's what creates these low bottoms, is you have a company that's been in struggle for a long period of time, trying to figure out how to add shareholder value, trying to figure out how to grow, trying to figure out how to stop the bleeding. A very easy trading strategy to find, not saying it's going to be easy to do, not saying it's going to be profitable 100% of the time, is that once these low bases resolve higher and start to break out, you get long. And if it gets back into that base, you're wrong. And you try to target maybe not all-time highs, but I don't know, halfway. Right? You take a fib. That's not a fib tool. You take a fib tool and you say, here's the high, here's the low. Right? The 50% mark on a logarithmic chart on this one, that's pretty wild. It's like $80 a share. Right? So what if it doesn't do 50%? What if it does 30%? It gets to 40. Right? That's the kind of play that you're trying to make here with these bases. So that was a long rant. I apologize for, but when I look at ODNS, I see kind of the same thing. It hasn't resolved that base higher yet, but at least it's stopped going down for a period of time. So I would look at it and say, okay, well, the top end of this base is, say $2.75 to $3. If it starts to get through that, I think the main reason for that rant I wanted to go on is you don't have to buy them as they're crashing. You don't have to be early at the bottom. You don't have to buy this thing at 33 cents. If this stock is going to resolve higher and get back to highs of $14, or even do, a 50% retracement of those moves, that's still $7 or $9. So if you wait to 3 and you buy it at 3 and you take it till 9, right? You tripled your money. What else do you want? So that's how I play these low bases. Is first of all, stop going down. And stop going down not for a day or a week or even a month. Stop going down for like a year, right? Show me that you're surviving an entire calendar year without exploding. And then if you start to resolve higher, that's when you get involved. And the beauty of it, so let's just go back to this example right here. This is February 2023. We could almost say, when did it stop going down? 2 years ago is when it stopped going down. Say I nailed the bottom. Well, my money is tied up and has done nothing for 2 years. That to me is way worse, significantly worse than losing money on a trade. Because why would I hold my money up for 2 years? I'm a retail investor. I can get out, and then when it looks good again, I can get back in. So I would just take my hit and move on with my life. Now that it's breaking out, my money is working for me. I'm in this thing from like $6. It's at 9. My target's 21. If it gets there, amazing. But I avoided this, where I would rather take a shot, get stopped out, and then get back in, right? So that's the same thing as ONDS. Is for me, I would wait for the breakout. If you like the story, if you like whatever they do, just sit on your hands and wait for the breakout. EVTL. This is one of those drone kind of play things. Yeah, so this is one of those you could look at it and say, hey, de-SPAC'd at 100, so it did a 10-for-1 split here, right? So they had to do some shenanigans to stay listed. However, they have done the stop going down thing. Hasn't been that long, but they've kind of done the stop going down thing. You could look at this and say, right, maybe I buy the breakout of the base at 710 and then add at 14 or 15 or something. Certainly can happen, but this base to me is a little bit too short to prove that they've stopped going down. When I see, that's weird. So no revenue but positive earnings. That's shenanigans if I've ever seen it. No revenue but positive earnings. So yeah, this one's not as interesting to me here, but if it ever got back to these highs and then started to break out, that would be the interest to me. And we live in an age where on StockTwits or anywhere else, you can put out an alert, say, hey, tell me when the stock reaches this price, and not think about it until it does. Check on it once a month. That's what I deal with those. So I know there's a lot of people who are very into, I have to buy low and sell high. That's how I look to buy low. It's just make it stop going down for a while. MP is just getting insane. This thing is just nuts. From $9 here in August of last year, it's up 550%. To break an all-time high. I don't know what you do with a name like this. I'm not going to short it just because it's up a lot. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to buy it after it's just from this price right here. It's up 120%. I can't buy it here. I can't sell it here. If I own it, I'm putting on a trend line or some sort of moving average or something, or saying if it breaks X period low, which just means, hey, if it breaks down to a new 5-day low, 10-day low, I'll short it. But until then, if you're in it, ride it. I think there's probably going to be a lot of shenanigans now that you've hit this prior high. Quite often, massive levels like this that everybody in the world is looking at, they can cause some nonsense, right? They can cause some kind of back and forth action. So now that we're back there again, I would not expect any different. I would expect this kind of chop sideways back and forth action. So just be careful there. But yeah, there's no way you can short that thing at all. ATRO. Astronics. Is this the one? This isn't the one with the CEO that went viral, right? That was Astronomer or something, I think. I don't know. I don't follow these things. I know that was a publicly traded company, which is hilarious to me. Right? Yeah, you talk about, and this is kind of another good example. So this is, I always try to pick out a theme for every time we're here. This is kind of the theme, right? If you wanted to buy this thing as it was crashing from $70 down, it went down 92%. You don't have to be the guy to pick the low. And you say if you did, right, you kind of pick this low right here. Well, if you fast forward like a year and a half, you're still at that low. If you waited for this thing to break out, which it did kind of in this area right here, where it broke out these prior highs, well, right, you still doubled your money almost, and you didn't have to wait that whole period of time. To me, that's interesting. So this is a good one that can finally break out now that it's hit this low, it's chopped around for a period of time, and has a nice look here. Prior highs of 77, you're at 34. That's another double from this price. Don't know if it'll get there, but looks good, right? If you want to buy companies that are on their way down, just wait for them to stop going down. That's kind of the theme here, right? Just wait for the downness to be over with, and that has been happening here for a long period of time. Could it just roll over from here and go to zero? Absolutely, anything can happen. But like I mentioned with Bitcoin, one of the best reasons to potentially own Bitcoin is that they can't kill it. It doesn't seem to ever go, it can't be murdered. So if it can't be murdered, then it'll be good. If this one can't go to zero, even though they seem to miss earnings every day, every time they have earnings, they miss them, then good. But you'll also see the earnings turn positive here. They started to make money in this area, which is just, it's hugely important for this particular market environment that you are making money, because interest rates being so high, I can go get a T-bill that yields me 5%. I don't want to hold something that doesn't do anything for me. If I can get a T-bill that yields me 5%, no shot. So yeah, this one looks good. Now from a short-term basis, obviously, you don't have to be a technician to see that it's got this kind of double top here at 36, 37. So if I'm looking to buy it, I'm waiting for there. If it fails this low right here, 29, I'm probably out, Wolf Speed. Isn't this bankrupt? Didn't this go bankrupt? I thought this went bankrupt. Chat? Yeah, I thought they went under. Or is that another one? Is that WULF? That TerraWolf that went bankrupt? You obviously don't want to buy bankrupt companies. Well, so I know you typed this before I gave my epic like 20-minute rant about wait till they stop going down before you buy them. This would be a perfect example. If any time on the way down here you said, I'm just going to buy this thing because it's going down and I want to buy a cheap price on this one, could have made that argument at 30 and 20 and 10 and 5, and now it's at 2. So what I would want to see on this name is just some period of time of basing. And it takes a lot of patience. I'm saying it like it's easy. Certainly not. It's going to be hard. So, you have to kind of get that moment. You got to like grab yourself and say, this is what I'm going to need in order for this thing to potentially go higher. And until then, just wait. Just wait and hang out. It will happen maybe at some point, and you can just kind of take your trade when and if that occurs. But if you thought this was the bottom, well, then they gapped down, and I thought they went bankrupt. I really did, and it gapped down, and then it gapped down some more, and then it gapped down some more, and now it's back a bit. And it's just like wait for this base to turn into something that you can kind of play again, and chill out for a period of time. The two people to look out for that will lose money consistently all the time in the market. One, the I'm always right crowd. those guys are screwed. If they are always right, then you're done, because the best traders in the world when it comes to win rate, the best, have a 60% win rate. The most profitable traders in the world, generally speaking, have a less than 50-50 win rate. Just by the nature of it, just the way it works. So that's one, the I'm always right, look at me, I'm great. Two is the impatient. And buying something here, again, I'm certain they were going to go bankrupt. This is the impatient, right? If you're looking for a little short-term scalp, maybe you just lean against these prior lows right here. You take your 150 and you're out at 130, and if it gets to $3, great. However, if it's going to survive, it's going to stop going down. Someone says, so for me, yes, Wolfspeed went bankrupt. Good rule that I have, you don't have to, not financial advice, don't buy bankrupt companies, because when they're bankrupt, equity holders get wiped out and go to zero. I know there's some cases in which bankrupt companies came out of bankruptcy and shareholders didn't get wiped out. They're very few. And I am a quant. I'm a statistician. I don't like to play things where 90% of the time you're going to lose all your money. So let's just move on from this one. If you're trading it fast and understand you are trading a company who has told you you will get nothing. I remember the Bed Bath & Beyond crew. Right? The Bed Bath & Beyond crew, if you ever think you lost your mind, just go to Twitter and type in BBBYQ. And there are people to this day think they are going to get rich from their Bed Bath & Beyond holdings, even though the company has went bankrupt ages ago. They are insane. The company is telling you when they're going bankrupt that equity holders will get nothing. Right? And that's probably what happened right here. So that can happen anytime. Be very, very careful, right? Be very, very careful. Plug. This is a weird one. Yeah, this company's done nothing since the year 2000. Not up, not down, not nothing. A lot of wild swings, but yeah, it can't get going. So this is one of those, I think people get lured in because they see a cheap price and they think that means something. But I think this is still a pretty huge, it's a $2.7 billion company at this price. So, right, I don't know if I'm making a bet on solar and solar related stuff with this admin, but look at this. I don't know how you can consistently miss earnings. So anytime you see a red green arrow down here, this is TradingView's way of saying that they missed the consensus earnings. I don't know how you can do that consistently. I don't even know at that point if that's one of those things that it's the company that sucks, or is it just the analysts who can't seem to figure it out by now, because they've been telling you for a dog's age that they're a bad company. And if you can't figure that out, I don't know what you do. Hemorrhaging money, so you got to be careful there as well. And again, like, show me that you're going to stop going down for a period of time. Until proven otherwise, this is just a bounce and a downtrend. Same thing that happened at 2 and at 7 and at 11 and 14 and 18 and 21 and 42. So I know people get excited. There is this thing, and it's human nature 100%, where they think the bottom of the chart is support and the top of the chart is resistance. And that's not the way it works. It can always go another 100% down from wherever it is. Wherever you are on the chart, you can lose 100% of your value from that moment. So just be careful, right? So you have nothing to see here, just a bounce and a downtrend until proven otherwise. So what does that mean? And, I talked about this a little bit with on the Friday show with the guys there, is, anchor a VWAP to that low. And then if you pull in and you grab that VWAP, it just shows that people are using this average price to buy, and then use that as kind of your line in the sand. Right? We can go, let's grab a prior example of when it bounced like this. A pretty crazy bounce from $2 up to $4, plug doubled off the lows. If you just popped an anchored VWAP at that low, when it came back down and you bought it there, you were out pretty quickly. and then right flushed all the way down. So same thing here. I want to see some sort of pullback. I want to see that pullback get held. I want to see buyers come into the name, and then, it can go from there. CRSP saying crisp squeezing. Well, we can look to see if this is indeed a squeeze or not, or whether it's just kind of going higher. CRISPR Therapeutics. Wow, yeah, that is a squeeze. So that's a 30% short float there. That's 1/3 of the float being short. That's pretty crazy. They got more short kind of in this area. So the fact that it's ripping shows that they're kind of cut off side. So from a short squeeze data or short float data, that's really interesting. I like the look of that. It's kind of what I want to see. From a trend point of view, you've doubled CRSP. You've gone from there to there. So you've already gone up 120%. So from the short squeeze data, it does look good. From a kind of technical pattern point of view, we just ran into this resistance right here and we backed off it. I would like to see some sort of a base. This pullback would have been an interesting place to buy. This pullback would have been an interesting place to buy. That's what I want to see, is pullbacks get held. Just don't FOMO in. Like, that's something like every day say to yourself, don't FOMO in, don't FOMO in. This feels like something that would just be a pure FOMO if we end up getting, if we got involved at this price. Just a pure FOMO at this point. Again, great looking chart. I like the fact that it's heavily shorted. That looks fantastic. Until then, what do you do, right? What do you do? Getting close to the bottom here, so if anyone has anything else to ask, make sure you let me know, because we have 15 minutes left. So make sure you ask your questions. Crypto, FX, whatever it is, we can take a look at. Futures. Yeah, BBAI, you can see I kind of already have marked up here. So BBAI is interesting too, because this is from this kind of technical breakout. That acted as support. We bounced. This resistance area kind of drawn back is this trend line from this high. So connecting all these points, showing that there's somebody out there anyway who is using this downtrend to exit some positions. So all the way down, exiting positions. So above that trend line, that could be our next catalyst to move higher. And I like the fact that it's basing here. I like the fact that it's consolidating. I think this is another pretty crazy short float. Yeah, 27% short. So nearly 1 in 3 stocks, over 1 in 4 stocks is short. We've been hanging out against this zone at 850 over and over and over again. If we can break through there, yeah, I like it. I would use, either this kind of, this is the breakout candle that I'm using for an anchored view app. I would use that as my line in the sand. So if we get over 875, it's probably good to take a shot at, for me personally, not investment advice. And then below here at 671, that's where you're wrong. It's time to go. So that's a nice looking trade. It's in a hot sector. It's doing the thing where it went down for a long period of time and then it stopped going down for a long period of time, and now it looks like it's going up. It's like we talked about. If people want to learn more about, I know I'm like really simplifying it, but you can do Stan Weinstein stage analysis. There's a good book here on just bring this over here. There's a good book here on stage analysis. Right, this is something that this is Trader Lion talking about it, but this is a concept as old as time. Right, stage 1 is your accumulation phase. This is where value investors get involved. People like that start buying the company and doing well with that. Stage 2 is your accumulation phase, which means, right, this is where kind of trend traders, momentum traders, people like that start to get involved. Stage 3 is some sort of accumulation, and then you fall back down. You repeat the process over and over again. So my point is that instead of buying on the way down here, just waiting for kind of an accumulation phase to form. And sometimes, every now and then, you're just going to have like a V bottom that just tanks and rips back higher, and you miss it. It's okay. You go kick rocks, and you'll be fine. But whenever you get those stage 1 bottoms, that's a good thing. So, yeah, I really like the look of that one. Just want to take a quick check on the SPY just because I want to keep an eye on things while I'm here. It's my website. If you want to go to statsedgetrading.com, get some more quant information, ideas, things like that. Yeah, it's a nice look here at the SPY. Huge surge right off the open. This is a 2-minute chart, and then just sideways consolidation ever since. It's exactly what you want to see, just like we talked about here, right? Big push up, then sideways consolidation. PYDN. Nope. PDYN. Helps you put it in right. Interesting. Again, one of those that had to Paladin AI, had to do the whole reverse split nonsense, but it's been holding ever since. Nice looking base, pretty clean base, right? Low right here. Right. So for me, I'm just marking these ranges, and I would put like a pretty simple and basic trend trade on something like that. And I would just say, if right, you end up breaking to this base, out of this base to the upside, then great. Maybe you get involved in that. It's moved from the low of the base to the high of the base, which we're talking like 150% range in this base, which is pretty crazy. But it's moved from the low to the high pretty quickly. So if it breaks through, great. You've got your line in the sand. Again, you want trades that are obvious, and then you always want to look at first. And you'll notice that if you watch me, I'll do this. And this isn't because I'm some sort of crazy master. It's just what all successful traders do is first, where's my risk? If I buy this thing over 14, 15 on a breakout, well, I'll want that breakout to stick. And if it bleeds back too far into this range, then the breakout didn't work. And most breakouts won't work. Most, like 60%. You can still make a ton of money buying breakouts, even if you're going to be wrong 60% of the time, because right, if we break out here to like 15 and you buy it, and then it comes back here to 11, 10 or 11, you sell it, and you're wrong. But if it breaks out and it just kind of keeps going to like 30, 40 bucks, well, right, you can do the risk reward math on that. It's phenomenal. But it's a great looking chart. Just nice holding up. Again, this is the market to buy base breakouts. Not every market is one that you can buy base breakouts. We haven't been in a market all year in which you can do it, but there's just a lot of signs right now that you can do this kind of stuff when it comes to crypto moving higher. Not only crypto, speculative market crypto moving higher. So, Fartcoins and things like that. Those things are moving higher. That's, again, the area that you want to be in, the market you want to get participant in is these crazy names, right? Something that is pushing up pretty substantially, right? Mobileye. MBLY. Well, this is the stop going down phase. So first we went up a bit, right? So this would be kind of your stage 3 accumulation, your stage 4 decline, and now we stopped going down. And you'll notice this probably corresponds pretty nicely with Intel, because Mobileye was an Intel spinoff. So you're hanging out with that group, with Intel, which hasn't really participated too much in this rally. So I don't see anything here on the chart right now. I know there's earnings coming up tomorrow morning. It's not my thing, buying before earnings, but I think you could just kind of draw, say a pretty basic wedge or something here, like that, and just say, hey, if we break out to the upside of the wedge, maybe take a trade. While we are range bound, it's nothing really that interests me. There's so many stocks that are smashing through highs right now, that are breaking out in a really big way. If we're not doing that in your particular stock, I don't know. Plus, earnings tomorrow. Not only earnings tomorrow, we have, if we go here and we take a look tomorrow, I don't know why this isn't listed, but JPOW is speaking tomorrow. I think. I'm pretty sure. Let me bring this up somewhere else. I think he's speaking tomorrow morning, which could be pretty wild. Economic calendar. Yeah. So TradingView has it. I don't know why Forex Factory doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have that. That's weird. Yeah, JPOW's talking tomorrow morning. This stock has earnings tomorrow morning. It's a lot of things together that say, hey, if you're taking a speculative shot, go right ahead. I know for me personally, I'm going to wait until there is some type of resolution of this particular base before I get involved. Either the upside or the downside. You never know which side of that's going to be, but I'm just waiting for this base. Otherwise, it's just noise. We got two more here. Google. So Google looks great. A lot of these Mag 7 names that have been lagging, well, a lot of, I mean these two. Apple, that's where my algorithm bought Apple. That's why I have that marked there. But that's looking pretty well. And then Google. That's a nice looking breakout. There's really not much else you can say. There's no pattern here that says buy this stock right now. There's no breakout that's occurring that gets me super interested in this particular name at this particular price. But it's a great look. It's a good looking stock. It's grinding higher here, making higher highs and higher lows. It seems like the whole hey, Google's dead because of ChatGPT is at least not showing up right now. There is something to be said, however, on the relative weakness of a name. So the fact that a stock is weaker than normal. It's weaker than, if we go SPY, right? SPY is breaking out. If we look at RSP, which is the equal weighted S&P 500, that's also kind of breaking out. So Google is underperforming. Now, it could be one of those where you see catch up in the underperforming names. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with participating in it. And again, from the lows here in April, it's been a nice solid uptrend. There's just no potential trade for me to take right here because there's just nothing that's like really kind of slapping me and saying, yeah, this is the moment to buy. However, it does look good. A nice kind of, you can call it a double bottom here, whatever it is. That's not confirmed until we get up here into the 209s. But nice look. No trade I can make on this guy right now. But again, it's a good look, and those are what I want to take. But SOLT, that's the Solana ETF, right? Yeah. So never do your analysis on something like SOLT. Never look at this and say, I like this chart, I'm going to buy it, because all this is SOL USD, right? It's just Solana. Do your analysis on the underlying, and then trade the leveraged if you must, right? But just always, please do your analysis on the underlying, because it doesn't matter what SOLT do. It will just do double whatever Solana does. So you have to like this chart in order to trade that other chart. So we'll do our analysis here. And it looks great, right? We had this low base right here. You can see this 121 to 125. That was a pretty important level right through here. We bounced off that pretty well. And we have these highs, or 250. So still a long way to go to the highs. We had this downtrend channel as we came back to that 125 area, bounced from there, and now we've broken these highs right here. That's really interesting. We could grind higher to new highs and then see where we go from there. It's a great look. It's going to matter more, I think, what Solana Bitcoin ratio does, which right now is looking great. Right now is just rocketing. But that's going to be important, right? I like the instrument that you chose, the double leveraged ETF, that's a good place to go and trade this thing. Even though you're trading inside of, because then you can trade inside your regular broker and all of that. But yeah, just note that you're just trading Solana. So don't watch your chart, watch this chart. So we still have a long time. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, I think, generally speaking, when these candles close. But if we can stick this breakout right here and then maybe just go sideways for a couple days and then maybe take our shot at highs, that looks great. It may be where people go now that Ethereum is doing this. So Ethereum, again, had that base, ripped to these prior cycle highs. Solana could be doing maybe the same thing where it rips to its prior cycle highs right here. It's great. It's a great looking trade. All right, guys, one more before we call it here, and that's ASTS. There's not much to say other than this here, this breakdown here, and then the breakdown that happened here was kind of the miss of the year. I bought some as we broke this downtrend just a little bit, and I'm still holding some, but you are up huge. This is insane territory now, right? You're up 200% gain just from here. From these lows, you're up like, oh yeah, just a 2,700% gain. So at some point, you've done a little bit too much and you have to pull back. I'm not going to short it and say that point is now. I don't know. We could continue to kind of rock it from here. But it's a nice look. It's moving higher. I think it's great that we're doing what we're doing. The pattern is great that it hasn't broken a prior low for many days, but that pattern can't happen forever where we haven't broken the low of the day before us for like 10 days. So at some point, we're going to get a bit of a pullback on this one. Is that pullback buyable? Well, it depends where it ends, right? If we kind of come all the way back down and through this low, that might be it for a while. Might have further to bleed. If we come back and we stall at these highs, this $52 area, and start to push higher, that is more healthy behavior. And then also, we could just go nowhere. So we could just kind of pull back into this range and just start to chop around for a while, making a new base to push higher. That's also very bullish action. You just have to be careful with things that are so insanely overextended. Again, overextended does not mean you short it. Things can stay going for longer than you expect, but overextended to me means don't buy. It means you've had your chance to potentially buy it and you missed it. So you need to wait for a pullback. You need to wait for some sort of consolidation in order to make sure that you're not FOMOing in. Because if you're just buying something after it's doubled, after it's just ripped up like 10 days in a row, you're FOMOing in, right? And it just means it could double from here. No one knows. But you got to think about what can you do on a repeatable basis for the rest of your career. And buying something that's just doubled, I don't think is the move. So appreciate you all for hanging out. As always, that's my time here today. Find me over at statsedgetrading.com. If you want more of this kind of stuff, let me know. And until Friday, where I'm on with a lovely crew, I will talk to you guys soon.